this is a little awkward. If you haven't noticed, I'm kind of a big deal these days. That's right, I have over 500 subscribers now, so I don't know if I'll have much time for the little people anymore. I keep getting invited to lavish Hollywood parties.
Remember, you are my number one guy.
Women keep throwing themselves at me.
Will you teach us to make love?
And Mr. Beast just won't leave me the hell alone. Hey Justin, you're so cool, man. You want to be friends? For the 10th time, Mr. Beast, the answer is no. But seeing as how I'm feeling charitable, I guess I could throw you guys a bone and discuss some X-Files. Today we're looking at Born Again, episode 22 of season 1. Born Again follows our agents as they investigate an 8-year-old girl who becomes the prime suspect in a series of bizarre deaths. The episode begins at the 14th Police Precinct in Buffalo, New York. A detective Barbala makes a comment to fellow detective Sharon Lazard that these days would probably send him on a one-way trip to HR.
Hey Lazard, now, why do the night guys get a piece like you and we're stuck with old eel breath?
It's fate, detective, conspiring to keep us apart.
Sharon gets off her shift for the day when she finds a young girl sitting all alone in an alley. She brings the girl in and introduces her to Detective Barbala. Sharon leaves and the young girl tells the detective her name is Michelle Bishop. She just stares at him with these dead eyes and then he just goes flying out a window. Now obviously an 8-year-old girl couldn't possibly overpower a full-grown man. For some reason, our agents are called in on the case. Mulder asks Sharon how she heard about them. The FBI? I'm pretty sure most people have heard of the FBI. Well, she tells them her brother is a cop in Baltimore and knows about their work on the Toombs case, saying they have a good feel for things out of the ordinary. Scully asks about the one witness to the event, that being Michelle.
What did she say happened?
She said there was another man in the room.
Well, it stands to reason that somebody...
I was right outside. I'm telling you, there was nobody else there except for Barbala and the kid.
The department is claiming it was a suicide, but Sharon just doesn't believe that narrative.
Plus, jumpers tend to open the window before they jump. Where's the kid now?
Scully says Sharon couldn't possibly think the little girl is involved, but Scully has clearly never seen any horror film featuring creepy kids. Mulder is with Michelle as they try and create a composite of who she says was in the room when the detective took his plunge.
What about a beard or a mustache?
Mustache.
Like this? Or this?
Listen, kid. There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
Strangely, the image changes on its own, so there's some spooky shenanigans afoot. Meanwhile, Scully is interviewing Michelle's mother, Judy, who has no idea how her daughter got there. Michelle, however, seems to be something of a problem child, having gone through several nannies over just a short span of time.
As hard as it is for a mother to admit, Michelle is a disturbed child.
Ah, what a lovely thing for a mother to say. She then goes on to talk about how her daughter has no friends or never smiles. To me, that just sounds like every preteen.
She says she sees things that I can't see. She hears people yelling in her head.
Same, girl. Same.
Wait, baby! Go!
Judy takes Scully outside and tells her they had to close up the pool because the last time her ex-husband tried to teach Michelle to swim, she screamed like a banshee. Mulder arrives to show Judy the composite of who Michelle claims she saw, but Judy doesn't recognize the man. Then Michelle, like a little weirdo, throws some origami bird at Mulder.
Where'd she learn how to do that?
I have no idea.
Some random guy is running the composite through the system looking for a match, while Mulder heads off to meet with Michelle's shrink and Scully off to autopsy the body of the detective. But before Mulder leaves, he tells Scully to make sure she looks for burn marks because he believes it's a case of psychokinesis. This all feels familiar for some reason.
Mulder, there's no such thing as ghosts or psychokinesis.
At the psychiatric hospital, Michelle's doctor has no idea who the man in the picture is either, but thinks it could be a creation of Michelle's multiple personalities. She tells Mulder that Michelle has some rage issues and for whatever reason would disfigure the dolls in the exact same way every time.
Have you observed any unexplained phenomena in Michelle's presence?
Unexplained phenomena?
Well, she shuts that down real quick. We're at the morgue as Scully goes over the body of the detective, and it looks like the body is breathing. Oh, and not only is the body breathing, it's also blinking too. Scully does note though that the cause of death seems to be from localized electrocution and not the impact. Sharon arrives as she has something to show Scully.
So what do you think?
Looks like a match.
The man in the photo is a Detective Charlie Morris, and he's been dead for 9 years. The following day, Scully meets with Mulder at the 14th precinct and informs him that Charlie Morris was killed in Chinatown, allegedly by the Triads. Although that would be rather difficult because Buffalo doesn't have a Chinatown. They then start to argue over the burn Scully found on the body because she really doesn't want to believe it's from a ghost.
This is the face that Michelle Bishop saw. She walked right by here and she saw the face of Charlie Morris, which means that there weren't any ghosts flying around the precinct.
Mulder asks Scully the details from the detective's murder, and eerily enough, they match up with what Michelle has been doing to the dolls. So the agents decide to get more information on Charlie by interviewing his former partner. Detective Tony Fiore asks if they can talk outside because he doesn't want to wake his wife. He tells the agents they were partners and rode together the first 9 months out of the academy, but can't comment on the case surrounding his death. Mulder tells him they believe Barballa's death is linked to the murder of Charlie Morris. Tony says he believes Charlie was murdered by the Triads as some sort of payback for a drug bust he was involved with. His wife then comes out to see what he's up to, and he tells her it's nothing to worry about and the agents can speak to him Monday morning. But Scully isn't stupid and knows there's more to this than what he's letting on.
Is it me or did we just get the brush off?
Did you notice her hands?
What?
She said she was sleeping, but her hands were dusted with baking flour.
At the Buffalo Mutual Life main office, Tony is speaking to a man named Leon Felder, and he's freaking out because he's afraid the agents are going to turn something up. Tony says they need to take a trip to Citibank for a safe deposit box, and Leon reminds him that they are the only two left, meaning a little over $1 million for each of them. He then tells Tony they agreed to wait 10 years, and why the arbitrary 10 years? I'm starting to think these two may have had a hand in Charlie's murder.
It was an accident. End of story.
His arm was severed just below the shoulder, presumably by a chainsaw, and his right eye was gouged out.
I mean, accidents are bound to happen during a chainsaw fight. Later that night, Leon appears to be heading home and walks down a Dutch angle street. He gets on a bus which brings him to a sketchy part of town. Before he can get too far, however, his scarf becomes sentient and remembers this wasn't its stop. I'm starting to get some Elm Street vibes here. The bus driver takes off and notices Leon running for his life, but when he tries to stop the bus, the brakes no longer work and the gas pedal presses itself. The bus driver, suddenly going from a black man to a Jeffrey Dahmer looking white man, finally manages to stop the bus, but it's too late for Leon.
What kind of shoes do you wear?
Pumps. I can't wait to meet you. There's a Roy Rogers on Main. Maybe they're at 6.
I'll be in a red convertible.
Bye.
Soon, Roy Rogers will become Hardee's. We're keeping Roy's delicious chicken and adding breakfast biscuits.
Yo, babe, is there a Roy Rogers around here?
Roy Rogers?
It'll seem confusing at first,
Never heard of it.
but you'll thank us later.
Michelle's mom is with the agents at the police station, and Scully asks Judy if there's anything she hasn't told them, but Judy, being all shook up, says no. Janice arrives as she has something to show Mulder. She points out the man that was killed tonight used to be a cop and was a former partner to Barballa. The agents are trying to piece everything together when Scully notices a paper missing from Charlie's homicide file.
Tony Fiore checked out this afternoon.
While they go back to Tony's house looking for said missing paper. They awake his wife, Anita, who says her husband never came home last night, and the agents ask if they can come inside. Mulder enjoys a nice little aquarium and then a bunch of different origami animals. Mulder asks her about the origami, and things get quite interesting.
Oh, no, not me. No, that was Charlie's hobby.
Charlie?
My first husband.
Okay, so Tony is involved in the murder of Charlie, and then he cucked him by marrying his wife. What a great guy. The agents leave and Mulder notes that Michelle is 8 and was conceived roughly the same time as Charlie's death, so he believes it's reincarnation.
Scully, reincarnation is a basic tenet of many major religions.
That still doesn't explain how an 8-year-old girl can kill 2 grown men.
We're with Michelle as she's undergoing some hypnotic regression therapy. She starts freaking out saying she can't, and the video quality keeps switching from HD to VHS for some reason. Her psychiatrist comes in telling them this is dangerous, and Mulder claps back at her.
To continue, you could push Michelle deeper into withdrawal, maybe permanently.
Is it any more dangerous than pumping her full of Thorazine?
I just whacked her up with about 300 cc's of Thorazine. She's gonna take a little nap now.
Michelle freaks out, saying they're killing me, generally not normal talk for an 8-year-old. Mulder tells Scully they almost had it and they'll have to try again, but Scully tells him her mother won't allow it. The agents argue with one another, but it looks like they're back to square one. Mulder is watching the tape from the hypnosis and taking notes when he notices something off.
And how old are you?
24. No, we can't! We can't do this! It's wrong!
Anita is home alone when there's a sudden disturbance at the door. It was probably just some kids playing Ding Dong Ditch though. Actually, it looks like it was an origami giraffe. The agents are at the regional FBI HQ trying to clean up the footage Mulder was looking at prior. Sharon arrives, bringing along with her the autopsy report from Charlie Morris. Well, it appears as though Charlie didn't die from his wounds, but instead from a drowning. Scully then goes on to say that he was marked for bradycardia, which according to her means he had elevated sodium levels and most likely died in seawater. But oh my sweet Scully, I think it's pretty common knowledge that bradycardia is actually a type of abnormal heart rhythm or arrhythmia, and it would be highly unlikely that a dead body would have a heart rhythm period. She's so cute though. Tony hauls ass back home with a giant gym bag. I guess the bag with a dollar sign on it would have been far too obvious. He runs inside looking for his wife and tells her they have to leave as he believes someone is out to kill him. You know, I love kids, but they can be so damn creepy at times. Back at the FBI regional office, and they manage to clean up the image from the tape. And Mulder, without barely a blink, says Charlie was drowned in his own fish tank, and that was the last thing he saw before he died. Anita confronts Tony about the giraffe, and then the power suddenly goes out.
Tony, somebody left this on our doorstep tonight. Do you know who? Answer me, Tony!
He leaves his wife in the room, and the door locks all by itself. Tony heads downstairs with his gun when, and I can't help but laugh, he's attacked by an electrical plug. He reaches for his gun, which is pulled away from him, when little Michelle decides to join in on the fun. The agents arrive and it sounds like all hell is breaking loose. The agents head around back and Mulder breaks a window so they can enter the house. Tony then starts talking to this 8-year-old girl as if she is Charlie.
They said they were just gonna talk to you. Talk some sense into you.
Scully goes upstairs to check on the wife, and Mulder confronts Michelle, who is now just psychically throwing glass objects at Tony. Scully frees the wife from the room, and they both go running downstairs. Tony tells his wife he knew what happened to Charlie and couldn't come clean about what happened.
I just wanted to take care of you. Who else would have taken care of you?
Well, she's a grown-ass woman that I'm sure could handle herself just fine. The aquarium then starts glowing blue for some reason, and everything just starts breaking apart. Anita asks Michelle to please stop hurting him, and the aquarium suddenly explodes. The power is magically restored, and it doesn't look like the floor is very wet, considering an aquarium just exploded in the living room. And just like that, everyone lived happily ever after. Well, except for Tony, who's going to prison for first-degree murder, and Mulder, who just seems to be interested in Michelle's psychic ability and none of the murdered people.
She claims no memory of the preceding events, and both her mother and Dr. Braun have denied my request for a second past life regression.
Born Again is a typical mid-X-Files episode. It's enjoyable and there's fun stuff throughout. It's nothing too complex, but hits all the proper beats. It does bear a large resemblance to the episode Shadows, with someone from beyond the grave getting revenge for their murder. The little girl is definitely good at looking creepy with doing next to nothing as well. And this episode kind of shows that Mulder sometimes is more interested in uncovering the paranormal aspects than he is actually solving crimes, even if at the detriment to the people involved. Born Again currently sits at a 7.1 on IMDb, although I'm not sure how reliable their rating system is anymore, seeing as how they want to change the metrics because of a crappy live-action mermaid remake. David Duchovny apparently hates this episode. I couldn't find a reason why, but apparently he just doesn't like it. Howard Gordon laughed about the desperation for the final scene in which Mulder watches the young girl swimming happily in her pool. He said, "We had written a scene that was the old wrap-up scene, with the mother looking fondly at her daughter who's now cured of her possession, and we said, this is really hokey, this is awful." So they added the overdub of Mulder's journal entry to make sure that they understate the paranormal and dryly present the information. Howard also noted that this was the first episode that dealt with the idea of reincarnation, and if I had remembered that this is what this episode was about, I would have placed that silly commercial from the last video in this one. Maggie Wheeler played the role of Detective Sharon Lazard. She and David appeared together in a 1989 film called New Year's Day, which may have a brief blink and you'll miss it full frontal nude shot of David, which you can go find for yourself. The two of them even dated for a brief period. She has appeared in many TV shows and movies, but she will probably be best remembered as Chandler's annoying ex-girlfriend in the hit show Friends. Andrea Libman played the role of Michelle. She's a Canadian-born actress from Toronto, mostly doing voice work for animated shows and movies. And if you're a fan of My Little Pony, well, you're in luck, because she's done so many episodes of various My Little Pony shows and movies, voicing Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy and Pumpkin Cake. I'm not sure if I'm listing characters or desserts. And just looking at her credits, it just goes on and on. This girl has definitely not had a lack of work, that's for sure. Born Again is a decent episode. There's really nothing remarkable or anything we haven't seen before, but it's just fine. Well, as you can see, I kinda lost it all. I really wish I hadn't listened to a certain someone who told me to invest everything into Dogecoin. So I guess that means for the foreseeable future, we can continue discussing the X-Files. Anyways, check back next time as I try not to get cancelled when discussing the next episode, Roland. As always, please subscribe if you haven't, hit that like, share this out to your friends, and turn on that bell to be notified of the next upload. Thank you all for watching and stay spooky.
So young, so innocent, so evil.
Explain how an 8-year-old girl can kill 2 grown men.
A child possessed by the soul of a brutal killer.
What's wrong?
She's not Mommy's little angel anymore. An all-new X-Files next Friday at 9, 8 Central.